So I had hoped for a sort of Letterman-style introduction from the band. That would have been pretty good. And I was pretty glad that they played one of my favorite songs with Oasis there. That was nice. Thank you to the band. And thank you to Jeff. That was an amazing session. I don't know if you guys appreciated that, but I thought that was awesome. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I would refer to as customer obsession. I've worked with a number of my customers, but clients over the years, looking at how they reinvent themselves to be customer leaders in their respective fields, regardless of what industry that is. So I'm one of our leaders in our global customer strategy and marketing practice, as well as in our digital practice. And we've been studying these kind of companies for a long, long time. As Dan said in the introduction, Bain is really one of the founding forces behind loyalty, customer loyalty, and the studies around customer experience being a function, really a core management discipline in businesses today. And we've seen some amazing things with companies like these that really live by the golden rule. They're companies that their customers love. They're customers that grow twice as fast as their competitors consistently over long, long periods of time. They're companies that their employees are inspired to work for. They're brands that we know and love either as consumers or as business customers. And we're also very interested in trying to understand how companies that are not these companies can become more like these companies and can replicate their success. So what are we all here today trying to achieve? Well, we're here at a customer success conference, and customer success might be defined as it says up there from Lincoln, when customers achieve their desired outcome through their interactions with your company. Quick question for the room, just show of hands. How many people growing up, like I did, used to go to McDonald's quite frequently with their families to get a meal? Quite a few. Some of you embarrassed to admit it. I used to go quite a lot, especially in my teen years. That was the place we used to hang out, Macca's. So now, same show of hands, those who still today go frequently and dine at McDonald's. I can't see it. Oh, I got one over here, one or two. And I know there's some of you who do from time to time indulge, but are less willing to admit it. It's a great example of a company that actually meets the desired outcome of the customer, right? If I want to go feed myself for low cost in a way that's consistent quality, McDonald's is still to this day the standard in delivering that outcome. And yet, very few of us frequent that as an establishment, even today. And in fact, over the last 5 years in the UK, really, we've seen an explosion of competitors for places like McDonald's, in places like Gourmet Burger Kitchen, Honest Burger, Byron, Five Guys, et cetera, et cetera. So the definition, I think, is very necessary. I don't think, however, in my way of thinking about it, it's sufficient or particularly inspiring. And I think there's a few elements of that I think we're missing. One of those clearly is that there's something other than the functional fulfillment of the need in my choice to purchase or not purchase from a company. There's emotional elements of that. A lot of us are susceptible to peer pressure around things like McDonald's or social good, and we sometimes associate brands with social and ethical outcomes, and we may not purchase. So there's something more than the functional need of the customer that's part of the purchase decision in our definition. The other thing is there's something a little more than just delivering the outcome. I have a great example from just this week. One of my team members came to me complaining about an experience on making a down payment on his new mortgage. He purchased a flat. The bank finally made the transaction, so it met the need for their customer, but it was a very, very painful, long process. Involved going to several different branches, misinformation, and a lot of stress around handling what was a very important moment of truth for that customer, my teammate. So there's something there that needs to kind of be a little more than just meeting the desired outcome through the interactions. So a starter for 10 from my perspective, and most of the companies I work with or associate with that are great at this have something along these lines. So yes, they're needs-centric. They're there to meet customer goals, but all businesses are. Otherwise, there's no value exchange. We would make no money. None of us in here would. So we're there to meet their goals, but we want to do that better than anyone else in the marketplace. To continue my example about burgers, I live near a high street that recently got its first Five Guys. As a DC, Washington, D.C. native, I was very excited about that. If you don't know, Five Guys originated in D.C. However, the Byron down the street was not very happy about that and really has suffered in terms of traffic to that establishment as a result of the Five Guys opening up. So it's not about being the Byron, it's actually about being better than the Five Guys, ultimately. And that's success. And how do we do that? How do we help customers meet their needs or clients meet their needs and their goals? Well, we do that by delivering, in my view, beautiful customer experiences. That's the way in which we meet the goal or the outcome. And I define that two ways, through two lenses. The first is beautiful for customer or client, which often means they're simple, straight through, they're right first time, they're low on effort, et cetera, but also beautiful for the company in that employees love them. They're good for the bottom line. So they're not necessarily costly experiences, but they're good both for the company and for the customer. So we could add as well, we mentioned before, that there are other elements of this. So it's not just meeting their goals, but doing it, also meeting their objectives from a sort of emotional or ethical perspective could be on this list. Other things could go on this list. But the challenge for you in the room is to have your own narrative and to have this narrative for your company. What does success mean for you? How are you defining that? And is that really giving you that kind of advantage? The kind of advantage that sustains the 2 times growth over 15 years or more versus your competitors. Why is this important? Well, ultimately, we come back to the commercial thesis, which Andy articulates well. The only way to grow a business, the only way to come out of the J curve that Jeff described, is to get customers to come back for more and to tell their friends. Take Bain, for example. I've worked with Bain now for almost 8 years, been in consulting longer than that, but Bain is a special kind of place. It actually has the highest NPS of any of our competitors consistently year to year, and as a result, over 80% of our business actually comes from referrals or repeat business. Imagine that, if your company didn't have to tender for 80% of its business. And we drive consistently global growth over 10% year on year. It's a great business model, right? So this is the thesis for why we are here today, why your companies have invested to bring you to this conference, and why we've taken the time out of our day. So I want to just level set a little bit, right? We heard from Jeff that there's more to the world than NPS. I agree with that, even though I'm a big fan of NPS and have implemented it in a lot of our clients. Really, the way I kind of look at it is the way Fred Reichelt looks at it, who's the author of The Ultimate Question. Regardless of your North Star, that's kind of less relevant, right? To me, whether it's customer health, net promoter system, or net promoter score, customer satisfaction, customer effort score, these are currencies. You might as well say the yen, the rupee, the dollar, the pound. It doesn't really matter. They're all valuable units of exchange as long as you have a common currency in your organization for talking about customer. One that everybody understands and recognizes and invests in and says, that is worth what I say it is worth. Right? That cup on that table could be our currency if we want it to be. But we all have to agree that that's what we stand behind. We will drive that through. Regardless of what your North Star is, have one. Have a way to talk about customer success. But really, the compass for us to guide our actions by is to become a company and a culture that is absolutely customer obsessed, absolutely obsessed with our customers and our clients. That's really when things happen. The implication of that is that this is company-wide. It's not just about the sales force or the front line or the service engine. The implication of that is it's about culture, that it starts from the top, it's part of everybody's way of doing business in the company, and it's ultimately back to the customer. I'd like to share with you some of the lessons I've learned working with different companies. We also host a small group of customer leaders in their industries called the NPS Loyalty Forum. And that's a regular forum that we host and have learned a lot from the companies who are members of that forum on what it takes to be absolutely obsessed with customers. The first thing, and we actually heard this from Jeff in particular related to his transformation box, is that a customer-obsessed company has to start from the top. If your CEO of your organization is not customer-obsessed, the organization will not be, full stop. I've seen companies who have been customer-obsessed actually lose focus and their way because a CEO who has come in with a different objective and a different set of priorities. So even if you are there today, the need for the CEO to continue to focus on this is absolutely critical. This is one example. Andrew Thorburn, NAB, National Australia Bank CEO, talking about customers. Andrew has done some amazing things for the bank since he joined a few years ago as CEO. One of those things is he's taken his bank from number 3 or 4 position on NPS to number 1 in the top 4 segments by value in Australia. Some of the ways he's done this is he's put his entire top executive team on the hook for customer performance. But he hasn't just done that from a perspective of an NPS score. He's also put them on the hook for great customer behaviors and the practices that he wants to see the executive team display. So for example, his top team all have adopted 2 or 3 of their major corporate customers as their accounts. So they are playing an account manager role and doing things like the closed feedback conversations with those accounts on a regular basis. So Andrew himself gets out to several of the biggest accounts and participates in those account conversations. The leadership team leads customer obsession. And Andrew and other CEOs like Andrew are not coming at this from an altruistic perspective. As I said earlier, this is beautiful for the company as well, right? So being customer obsessed pays off in a number of ways. Really knowing and understanding your customer allows you to enhance your products, your offerings, your services, connect with customers on a different level, allow them to be your lead users as you prototype or pilot and take things to market, which generally would mean on the incubation side of that J-curve, you are less time in the J-curve if you have customers who are willing to be part of your product development. Better products and services means a better win rate. Customer obsession also helps us anticipate customer needs, as well as customer dissatisfaction or disloyalty. So we can focus our efforts on retaining those customers sooner, and we can focus on upselling customers who we know are already promoters of ours or advocates of ours. We can win new customers through word of mouth, really activate our promoters to be our referral base and our marketing team for our business. And finally, informing our investments. So making sure that we're not spending money on things that the customers do not value. So if we come back to what we're trying to achieve at the beginning, which is success for our customer, and we're obsessed about that, then we're making sure that every investment we make is tied to an outcome for customers and delivering better than competitors through beautiful customer experiences. Customer-obsessed companies have the customer mission at the heart of what they are trying to do. And it starts with the need, a very clear articulation of the need I am trying to fulfill. Take, for example, two of our favorite companies, Uber. If you read their mission statement, it's about opening up more possibilities for riders, more business for drivers. Fairly simple, but very poignant when you think of it from a customer success lens. Airbnb, we connect people who have space to share with those who are looking. Right now, if I had been an investor and you brought me that mission, I might look at that and say, that's kind of uninspiring. But actually, knowing what we know that that's very, very pragmatic, it's very customer-centric, and allows the organization to focus on a mission, a single mission for customer. How simple is the narrative in your company around what you're trying to achieve for your customer? And if you're not sure, or if you're trying to achieve 5 or 6 or 7 things, you're probably not going to catch all those rabbits. We heard a little bit about this from Jeff as well, but we organize, increasingly are seeing companies organize around those needs. So rather than in traditional silos of product teams, operations, sales, service, we're looking end-to-end at those customer experiences, those beautiful customer experiences, and we're working cross-functionally to deliver those customer experiences. In fact, we're organizing around these. If you haven't seen this is from an ING YouTube video. You can go look it up, ING, Agile. You'll come up with this video. ING has emulated some of the brands you see up there to say, look, if we know what our customer needs are, why don't we organize around them? Let's structure our P&Ls by customer need. Let's bring our teams together in tribes around the customer needs. And let's organize in cross-functional squads that bring together things like IT, user experience, data analytics, product, marketing, rather than having marketing over here and product over here and the team designing the experience over here. Let's put them together around customer needs and experiences. Let's put them on the hook for the costs associated with those experiences, for the outcomes of that from an NPS or customer loyalty or customer health perspective, from a commercial perspective, from a risk perspective, and internalize all of that behind the customer need. That's actually living customer success, right? And that's doing it top to bottom in the organization. Customer-obsessed companies also have systems for high-velocity continuous learning and improvement. You don't leave your financials to chance, I hope. I hope you have finance teams and robust metrics around your financial performance. I hope you have the same in operations. What this is about, really, customer success is about saying, let's balance our profit initiative with an initiative that says we want sustainable growth from our customers. And we need the same disciplines and systems around that sustainable growth with customers that we have around our operations, that we have around our financial performance. Which means we have, again, consistent metrics that we all believe in and understand. We have automated and robust ways to measure outcomes for customers, and we're tracking those. But more importantly, we are embedding in the DNA the customer experience. This is a great example from Qantas. Qantas is the leading airline in Australia. They really set off on a mission to improve their NPS score when Alan Joyce came on as CEO. And over a 6-year time period, we're able to increase their NPS by 70 points. I don't know if I've seen any other case study that has had that kind of improvement over that period in NPS performance. They've come across as the top Traveler's Choice Award over multiple years, and they have recently recorded several years of record profit for the company. So as you can see some examples of what they've done with their customer success metrics, right? In this case, they use NPS, but they've put it in the hands of the people. They've democratized the data, and they've made it instantly accessible by their people. Whether you're working in a lounge and you can see instant feedback from people who have just come out of the lounge and get surveyed, whether you can see on the app on flight as a steward or stewardess, both the loyalty status of the customers and where they're seated, but also the advocacy status of those customers and where they're seated. So I know if I have an unhappy Diamond member over here that I need to go attend to. That's really enabling your organization to care about the customer at the point at which they're going to interact with that customer at any point in time. Another one that we're all familiar with is Apple. Who here has an Apple product? I'm wearing one. I also have one in my pocket. So this is a company we all know and love, but they consistently outperform their industry on an NPS basis. They've calculated that for the detractors that they call back, so if you don't know this, if you ever go into the store and have a bad experience, you'll get a survey. When you get that survey, tell them you had a bad experience, they'll call you back. There's not a lot of companies that do that, but Amazon's one that does that. Apple does that consistently. Our clients, we tell them to do that consistently, but very few companies do that. They rely on the metrics and the surveys for things like market research purposes and for learning, but they don't close the loop with the customer. Apple does, and they'll call you back. And they've done the economics to say that every detractor callback they do is worth $1,000 of revenue to the company. Pretty good business case for recovering those customers, whereas most companies see that as a cost. And why would I do that? It's a cost. As we know, their share performance and their market cap performance speak for themselves. You see here, the customer success team. A lot of the innovations you actually see in the retail outfit have come from the closed loop learnings. The fact he's wearing a blue shirt, for example, came from early learnings that customers couldn't locate the members of staff in the store because they used to wear black shirts. I don't know if anybody remembers when they used to wear black shirts, but they did. They now wear blue shirts so that the customers can find them. The way that you log in or the way that you reserve time for the tech bar, the way that you experience the tech bar, all of these innovations in their retail format have come from customer feedback that they then apply. So they have these systems embedded throughout the organization. They're relentless in designing beautiful customer journeys. Now, Monzo is making a big wake. I don't know who's aware of Monzo. Who knows about Monzo? I have one of those cards in my pocket as well. I like to stay up to speed. Monzo has less than 0.5 share of consumers in the UK. Very small amount of consumers actually use the Monzo card today. And if you actually look at it from a functional perspective, needs met perspective, it's a prepaid card. It's just a prepaid debit card. That's all it is. And now they're moving into current accounts. But they've created all that excitement by just doing one thing, which is identifying a need for a customer and doing it much, much better than any of the banks can do it today. And you've got a great example here. So for that prepaid debit card, I can top it up seamlessly. I can make payments from it seamlessly with a couple touches of a button. I don't have to go into a branch to activate it. I can freeze it if I lose it without having to wait 5 days for a replacement card. Little things, but they all come together in a very beautiful little mobile offering that's created a lot of excitement in the financial services industry. The final thing I wanted to emphasize is the employees themselves. Right? Great customer-obsessed companies have employees who are fanatical about customer success. I can't think of any better place than Rackspace. And if you ever get a chance to go visit Rackspace in Texas, their facilities are amazing. They're in an old mall that has been outfitted as their offices. But from the time you enter the door, you're welcomed by name. They know you're coming. They know your company. They've printed out a poster of your company, which you sign and they put on their walls. And then they walk you around and they show you the floor and they show you their people. And their people are a lot like Joe here. They're pretty excited about their customers. They have an award. There's a straitjacket on the wall, and it's a little bit kind of, what is that? But they start to describe that they have the straitjacket award for fanatical customer service. So they have a whole wall of people who have earned this award over time, and they don't take them down. Right? This is really an important thing for them. Great customer, and I love this bit from here at the end. Culture's the match that we throw in the gasoline to ignite the fanatical support fire. You cannot forget culture. You cannot forget the importance of culture in your employees. So the companies that do great things for customers are also doing great things for their people. I love the Zappos example that many of you would be aware of sort of hiring and then a week into the job saying, well, I'll pay you to quit. If you don't want to be here, leave. It's one of the things that I find is really differential about companies that love their customers. You can't take a face wall of people who are unhappy working where you work and somehow turn that miraculously into a bunch of customers who love you as a company. So just to recap, really 4 things that we've highlighted here. The first is you have to have leaders that are obsessed, not altruistic, but obsessed and understand the value of delivering customers that are fans of the bank or of the organization you work for. The second is a company pointed at and organized around customer needs. And really, this is increasingly about how you structure your organization. It's not done from a central function that tries to influence the business to be more customer-centric. It's increasingly the way companies are organizing around customer needs. High-velocity continuous learning and improvement embedded into the DNA of the organization. And finally, employees who are fanatical about customers and brand. In closing, just want to say this brings us back to our overall compass, which is let's figure out how we can work with our companies to deliver customer obsession into the culture, into the people, into the heart of what we do. Thank you very much for your time.